Okay, guys. All right. Okay, guys. Welcome to the mental health panel talk for a tech career. Our two speakers here today are Layla and Jeremy. So, Layla and Jeremy, could you please introduce yourselves to us?
Sure. I'm a recent graduate from UTM, major in CCIT, minor in computer science and math. I do have a bit of a background in just like psychotherapy and all that stuff, and I've been going through it for about 5 years or so. And like, of course, you've been through like the trials and tribulations of being the CS like courses and all that stuff, and we know it's not easy, it's very stressful. So that's why we're here to talk to everyone today.
Layla. Um, I am a master's student in the geography department, but if you're in her career, I also feel in 108. Um, have experience in imposter syndrome. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Layla and Jeremy, for being here with us today. So how was and is school life balance being like for you guys, especially in the CS program?
I'll start first. Oh man. Oh, school life balance. It's hard to describe. Not you don't really describe it. Like I don't really want to describe it as like school life balance. Like life, in terms of like your hobbies and like other responsibilities, other courses, family life, friends. Those are all nice. But I feel like if we're talking about mental health, I feel like in terms of life, I think the most important thing to kind of like take a glance at is just like more so yourself. First and foremost, in terms of like not in terms of like physical health and mental health, but we'll delve into that later. Um, it was definitely a struggle. I'm pretty sure, like now that like you're, I don't know if you're first year or second year here, midterms are coming by. You have to like crack down on those. Assignments are piling up. Still life balance is probably a little bit more tricky to have by these days, especially if you're doing the normal course of this like 2.5 credits per semester.
So being in graduate school, we do pretty much are taught that take a break. um, they tell you like, oh, you work during the summer, you don't work during the winter. But I've always been the type of person that if I don't take a break, I break down pretty much emotionally and mentally, and I cannot do work. I think it's important, even if you want to do industry and you want to push yourself to maybe go to the best companies, or you want to do research, if you at least take one break, like one day you assign for yourself. And it could be to meet friends or it could be for your like be watch a TV show. But one of the important things that we can learn is that you cannot work 24/7 for the rest of your life. So you might as well just integrate it into your lifestyle. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I guess that's a general thing. How we want to like, kind of format the talk. By all means, like raise your hand. You want to ask a question and like share your experience, whether you're dealing with CS. So I'm pretty sure everyone here is kind of like dealing, like kind of experience the same thing and for all in like CS, kind of going through the courses. So like, raise your hand, tell us your name, and like ask whatever questions you'd like to start with. We'll ask what like just for now, just kind of like introduce ourselves. We'll go over the introductory and the questions that we'll answer.
How do you feel like when you outline?
Um, trying to post, trying to post. Oh my goodness, 10 years. Trying to post is it's very stressful, of course, and of course, there's like hard requirements you have to meet by determine the grade levels and all that stuff. Even if you meet those requirements, I'm pretty sure you're kind of compared against your peers. So it's just a feeling, of just like cross your fingers if you're nervous. Um, but I think one big thought that I can like get across to people who do apply to post is that like you might not be satisfied with your grade. Maybe like maybe you didn't meet the requirement, and maybe you don't know if you'll get it, and maybe if you don't get it, like we'll see what happens. A lot of people, what I tend to see is that they start beating themselves up. It's like, oh, I did try harder. We kind of go at that idea of like could have, should have, or would have done something better. Um, and the other thing to remind yourself about that sort of thing is that throughout the entire process of you like going through your courses and then applying to post and like crossing your fingers you get into post, it's a good thing to remind yourself that, like, given the entire circumstances of what you've been through, if you're not even the coursework or studying or procrastinating per se, you did the best you could. So not even during like around academics, like maybe your family life is kind of like bringing you down, finances. Like there's a lot of factors in your life that you have to account for why you do or may like you may or may not get in the post. So if it does come by, crash you down. I mean, hopefully, cross fingers, it doesn't go that way. Um, it's good to like relieve like the stress of your shoulders that you don't get in. That like you did the best you could like all the way through, even though you feel like you did it. And then probably the factors behind everything, but you didn't really fully prepare for that.
So, I guess you are more than just your reading. And it's not even just the fact that, oh, personally, you're a good person. If you're worried about your personal life, your post at the end of the day does not matter compared to maybe your experiences or the opportunities you take. Just because you're not a post does not mean that you can't do anything. Does not mean you can't do research into your science. I know people in the mathematics field who are successful in computer science research, and people who have done maybe geography who decide to do software development. You don't need posts. Um, it is good if you get into posts, but if you feel discouraged afterwards, that's normal. You work hard and maybe you'll feel absolutely disheveled. I know I did. But at the end of the day, you keep moving forward, right? And I don't think if you approach a professor, not let's say but if you have good grades somehow in like math, you approach a professor that you want to do research with, who learn the subject, etc. And you say, this is a field I really want to try it. Keep trying that, and eventually you'll encounter someone who will provide you an opportunity to move you forward. Um, it's easy to get at your failures that you don't think you past it. But if you do that, then you're not going to succeed because you've already decided for yourself, I'm not going to succeed. Don't let your failure impose failure. Decide your personal or your professional. Just keep going. It's going to be okay. There are plenty of people who have not made posts and are probably making tons of money still.
All right, thank you so much, Jeremy and Leila. That was great. I don't know if I need mental health support. How would you know when and if you need to get help, guys?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's kind of tough to answer. I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably heard that, like, oh, I should probably go get therapy. I'm not for say that. They don't really go to therapy or get help. I get mental health support. And there's a lot of reasons why, money, insurance, and it's like, oh, people think they're in control. And that they can probably get themselves out of it. And you realize you're kind of going through that same cycle. I think the best way to know if like you need mental health support is that I mean, of course, it affects your academics first and foremost, because people like to think that like, oh, if I just work harder, then like, you'll get better grades. But you don't really realize that like your mental health is actually kind of affecting how well you do in your courses to some degree. So the biggest sign that you should get help is that like one, you're not really like as much as you try and try and try, and you just don't get the result that you want. Let's say you try like me, you do bad with that next test, you try harder, and it doesn't really work out. And you kind of find the same type of like, for example, I see it happen a lot into like get really overwhelmed with like, okay, if you feel a failure, I gotta work harder. Work harder, you push yourself even harder. Then you put yourself burn out. And after you burn out, then you feel like overwhelmed, start procrastinating because you can't handle it all at once, right? And you procrastinate like shows, games, whatever. And the next test comes around, you're like, oh, I should have done something about it. So if you feel yourself kind of repeating that same cycle of like, for lack of a better term, suffering, I don't like to use that word, but like it sounds a little bit more hard. And you find yourself kind of like suffering that same cycle of like trying to like push yourself harder and you end up crashing, try again and crash, try again and crash. Maybe you should probably look at your mental health because something there is like it's kind of like blocking you from this kind of not succeeding from academically, but taking care of yourself in a way that can like can affect your academics. So just a quick note, you can just offer like therapy sessions, 10 sessions per year, I believe. It's very helpful. And honestly, for personal experiences, I tried pushing myself through hard times, and I realized after I just took a break to like not do work and like focus on myself, things have stuff. That's like a small example.
I would say I struggle with this already. I don't do it.
Mhm.
I, I'm really stressed. I don't want to do it. I don't have time. I think when you start early and identify the problems that you're having and how to fix it, it makes it easier along the way. Because after a while, you become stuck. You're like, I've done this before. It's fine. um, I think you can always get mental health, even if it's perfectly healthy. You can still get it. Nothing should stop you. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to go in and be like, "You're fine. What are you doing here?" Get out. So I guess start early. Maybe go if you think you need it. It's best to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what the like mental, um, the importance of mental health does not end with being people. You know, it's like after you graduate, and especially if you don't have the job and you lined up, it's like, what is the point of my life? Because the entire time it's been like building up to some goal,
Mhm.
and now you have to make your own goals and like this many applications, this many that. But there's no one to keep you accountable for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the university mental health resources are no longer available. So do you know any way to help with that? Or like any resources to help since you guys have also with that?
I recently graduated, and since you're you're no longer covered under the insurance of UCM, you can't go to the therapist here. You still can go to UCM, not for a therapist, but you can go to them for research, helping you define, like cheaper alternatives like therapy. There's, I know it's like a couple off my head. Of course, there's BetterHelp, Inkblot. There's like sessions for there's like therapy sessions for like $35 an hour. But yeah, the university can't fully take care of you after you graduate, and then after you're kind of just like stuck with your own like issues that the university can't help you with, and like no one can keep you accountable for your work anymore. Um, yeah, the journey didn't stop there. It's an ongoing journey. But UTM still does have resources to kind of help you find those resources at the very least. They're not going to leave you hanging dry. Yeah, yeah. Um, at least for the next 2 years. So you can book an appointment with the HTC and still like kind of like go over like a list of resources for like your financial needs, your time needs, like your preferences in terms of like therapist or gender, ethnic background, HTC. That was account. You can book an appointment with them and they'll help you find more resources in after. Yeah.
It brings us to our next question pretty well. Like, what mental health resources should I look into? Like, what about you, Layla? Do you know any like resources that like graduating and like current students can look into?
It's bad to say that I'm doing that. I'm still like I still have access to the resources here, so we know that the HTC has it. You have Green Shield as well, which I'm pretty sure covers some sort of like financial costs for therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm not actually the health resources.
Mhm.
This is another question. Like this, you can answer it. You don't doesn't have a response, but how do you personally define work?
Work.
Find so much stuff as a word. I define grad school as a word. I define anything that I don't enjoy, which is really weird. Because as a grad school, I really enjoy it. And I would do with my personal time. So I don't define that as work. It's anything that I find uses up energy rather than focus.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I have another question to follow up. If you've ever redefined the word work for yourself, what impact did this have on how you felt every day?
Yeah, kind of going off what Layla said, the whole definition of work. How that kind of redefines like your everyday life is it kind of helps you be a little more self-aware in the sense that you know what like things that like would seem like how do I say this are like enjoyable to you are actually more taxing. And then you start realizing what's more helpful to you and then you start engaging in those activities more. For example, work could still be going out with your friends, but you can't hang with your friends for like, you know, 24/7 every day, because that's tiring, right? That's technically work, even though it's enjoyable, right? For example, I'm pretty sure that like we've been out, after like, a long day, trip on the weekend, and you come home, you're exhausted. It was still enjoyable regardless, right? But then it's still great. So like, how it kind of defines, like, it basically helps you define your needs of basically self-care, I guess, in terms of like when you define work. Because by that example, like spending time with friends, sure, it could energize some people, depends on who you are. But if it's not energizing you and that's draining you, as like I said, then you start realizing, oh, maybe the time for yourself is like time for yourself is also enjoyable, but then being with friends is also enjoyable. Like one gives you energy, one takes away.
But you define work as something that takes away energy, even though it can still give you energy in another sense. Or is it something for you that still takes away energy?
Like, give and take sort of thing. For example, when you hang out with buddies, you're fulfilling a need.
Mhm.
So the need for community.
Is that feeling the
Yeah.
work?
Okay, this brings us to our next question pretty well. We can segue into it. Yeah. Have you experienced burnout? And if so, how do you guys recover from burnout? Speaking of work.
Is it how to experience burnout? I have experienced somehow. Yeah, I have experienced that. Yeah. Maybe because, there's just a point where you strive so hard to be as the best, to catch up to everyone else. And then at some point during that process, you just realize, what have I accomplished? Really? Will I ever make my goal? And you just reflect and you say, was it really worth it? I'm never catching up to these people. And at that point, you start doing less work. Now you're telling your supervisor, oh, I didn't get it done. But then you have assignments piling up and everything just seems overwhelmed. It's a feeling of just wanting to give up at some point. And have I recovered? I would say in a sense, it's hard to say just quickly because sometimes you don't have to.
Mm.
I'd say at that point, at least talk to someone. Because I can't just always be like, I'm having mental health problems and constantly the layers. It would be really nice if we could. But the universe is not gonna give us that really nice person. So it's really nice to talk to someone. And it may seem intimidating, but I actually find it helpful to talk to my professor. I built a very strong relationship with my professors in the sense that they are having a hard time. I can talk to them. And that's something we can try and build as well. Just seem very genuine. Sometimes they can help you, sometimes. But at least you get to talk to someone and hopefully they can give you advice. There are plenty of times where I say to friends that I'm close with, saying, I'm having a hard time. I don't know what to do. I think I'm failing grad school. And he'll say, you're not failing grad school. Here's what you can do. If that doesn't work out, maybe this is what you can do. And he'll just provide advice because they've done this before. Sometimes our experiences, unique as it may seem, isn't. And your professors may have dealt with it, your TAs may have dealt with it. And yeah, sure, sometimes they can't burden themselves with your problems all the time, but sometimes they can, sometimes they are helpful. So you can approach other students, your friends, TAs, professors, talk to someone. You're tired and want to give up, don't just feel like you gave up. Do something and try to person.
Anything to add, Jeremy?
Yeah. Like, don't stop very violent. With this part, like reach out support. In terms of like kind of like classifying burnout, I feel like there's two kind of like ways to go about it. One of them is of course like like if you're doing so much work, and then you kind of like you really don't think yourself up for anything, and you're like exhausted, and you just kind of feel like you kind of like lost and how like it's kind of like lost control of yourself because you have it like you're so compelled to do work that you can't like have time for yourself. That's a one form of burnout. Another form that it kind of occurs that I see within like friends is with not doing anything, but it's all like mental. And you know, how maybe it's kind of like intermingled with being overwhelmed. But it's like, oh, yeah, I think I said, like, expectations to like do really well. You have all these assignments, you have all this work to do. Like things kind of like pile up, and then once it becomes like too much in your mind, it's like kind of like get paralyzed from the pressure of this time trying to do everything. But as we said, you know, talk to a friend, or just kind of like, you know, there's been like many tactics before to kind of deal with that, like you know, break it down by down, step by step, kind of organize yourself so you don't get like, you don't set everything on your shoulders at once. Or and if you're working too hard in terms of this like I'm not too sure, you know, I haven't really seen it myself. I always did it once before it was kind of like work. And like, sure, you know, getting getting done, work getting done, then you kind of feel like you left yourself behind in terms of like your own hobby, your relaxing, your interest. Then, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not exactly, sure exactly what to say because I'm pretty sure it's not that. Uh, Yeah. Okay, no, but let me back it in.
So like, I think it's like, what would you like to know? Region, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard to kind of touches that one idea. It's like, oh, rejection, but keep going. Then eventually, after rejection, you kind of brings it down more. Um, I try to kind of keep it simple. In terms of routine, it kind of sucks to get rejected. You know, you apply, maybe if you get a rejection letter or not, or you don't get a reply at all, like it sucks. You know what I mean? It hurts regardless if you get rejected from like a job. Um, so as much as you want to keep this like a high spirit and keep going, which is like people can do, you know what I mean? But it's where kind of like mental health to kind of come in, where a rejection, you know, it, again, as I said, it's hurtful. And the only way I can really describe it is just to kind of like, how do I say this? You kind of feel the rejection. If it hurts, like, don't ignore it. It hurts. You know what I mean? Breathe through the process of just like being rejected. And then from there, it's like once you take care of yourself, then you can like go up into a positive like you know by all means like you can like take a rejection and then like keep going because like yeah you don't have to take it personal. Can't realize your situation and it's like you know different your fault. Maybe it's like just like like just as much as you weren't meant for the job might have been meant for you. It goes both ways. But it's kind of like reframing how you like take rejection. And if it does hurt, then like you know you can deal with the emotions and then next time when it does come by, won't forget. So in terms of routines that you can something you do every day, sorry,
We can take one more question. We're good on time, but we can just take a couple more questions. It's the Q&A, so feel free to ask Jeremy and Layla like a couple more questions. We'll be wrapping up soon.
like every day, journaling, of course, it helps. But people like it's to kind of like get all the thoughts and feelings out there. Um, it's very kind of we just recommend, of course, meditation that helps in terms of just like you realize you get rejected, you have that sad feeling of rejecting inside of you, but it's attachment, and then realize, oh, you know, it's like you're feeling this, then you don't have to like. I can go more into that later. There's another person with raise their hand.
Unreject.
Yeah.
So what is your mental model of rejection? How do you think of rejection? Is it something that something that grows you or both or not at all?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. It depends where your mental space is. So if you're feeling great, you get a rejection, it's like, it's okay. You know what? Maybe like I can work on this next time. It's like, yeah, you need to do this for growth. But then if you're at like the lower state, you get the rejection, it's gonna be, you're gonna think a little bit more personal, like, oh, maybe you're just not worthy enough, you're not qualified enough. So, like define rejection is like the mental framework, of course, it could be like, if you're really on top of your mental health, sure, it would just be like also to learn from, keep going. Or maybe something it's like you don't need to like really grow or learn from it, you just try your best anyways, and then like you don't have to feel like bad for it. It's more about damage mitigation when you get rejected, when you drop the high peak, or maybe you can learn from it. But if you're at like a low peak, you think rejected, it's probably just gonna harm you unless you don't do something about it. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm getting that correct.
So, how yeah, pretty much answered, like, were you going from your own perspective? What you did when you encountered rejection, or is this something you learned about somewhere else?
I learned about it somewhere else. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Is there any more that like your questions that like you are answering?
No.
Okay, okay. Sorry, take it away.
So on that, and my question, is there any like self-development tools or mindset that can help us go through like burnout or like
Can you repeat that one more time?
development skills and like positive treatment going to use them to part
Okay, okay, no, that's a good question, good question. Something I really like want to like preach to some people that like really help in terms of mental health. It's not really just like, oh, like hugging yourself so you feel better. It's more so self-awareness really helps. It's not about stopping yourself from feeling sad, it's noticing you feel sad. Sometimes people kind of get blind to their own like their own like suffering. So like to be like more mindful and more self-aware, and like when these things do come by, it's the difference between like letting it happen, ignoring it, just kind of feeling whatever it happens, and like then just come back your way. And then there's like a split option of like instead of like just feeling bad, and then you like do notice it, it's like like taking care of yourself, self-compassion, or just like help. I mean, not everyone's really the best at it. It's a skill that you develop with time. But regardless, a good community is like friends can like help you with that sort of thing. So the best thing right now is like one thing for sure is that when you're that wrap up okay. When it's coming your way, like take a second, breathe. The breath is very important. So when you can take a realize what you're doing, you can probably take the better action to like get yourself out of that sort of like hardship. Like the hard not hard out the hardship, but this how the hardship is that. Yeah, so self-awareness is like the base. Any more questions? I have maybe one more head. Hardship, right? Yeah.
So I guess this question can be like a question more market personality.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with the endless like this hamster wheel of like rising expectations of like, okay, let's say in this academic year, like my standard was like this and this is how hard I would try and stuff, and this is kind of like my like mental image of like where I stood with like dealing with courses and dealing with all these other like concepts of my life. And like let's say next year you make it like a goal to improve that. But then after that, you kind of forget about the original goal, and now you're like, okay, this is my normal, like this is my expectation of myself, this is my life, like this is who I am. But just something that just kind of like listen to it. And then when you keep trying and trying, you forget like how do you kind of like remember how far you and not just always feel like disappointed when you don't feel as big of a leap as you want in a certain phase of time.
We're gonna have to answer this a little quickly. It's time to wrap up. Anyway, so we want to answer your question. This kind of repeat this, so I'm gonna understand the question. Basically, the hamster wheel of this like you have these expectations for yourself, and you're trying to reach for it, and then when you try to like reach for it, you realize like it's not exactly what you expected it to be like, kind of different from what you expected, and then like you have you kind of practice a new sense of self, right? And so your question was like addressing like
I guess like addressing like even if you are like at a plateau, like you like how would you be able to like look back and like, oh, I've come this far, so I shouldn't even though I'm like at a plateau right now that like I am worse. Like sometimes you feel like worse because you are at a plateau and you're not like, rising. That's it.
Okay, okay. In terms of like realizing the possibility of your academics, health, like, what's like, what are you looking at in the realizing
I just find it.
Wait, it's a sense of, sometimes you just have to sit back and look at what you've done, right? For example, when you're like, especially when you're friends with a lot of different sort of complicated.
Yeah, by all means, we were kind of running over time here, so if you need to like go to different account, by all means, if you wouldn't mind, get like watch that. But if you go too far, like stay back to this, like having dating with conversation. I will go ahead. Yeah.
Um,
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Like, like this about it, which is sometimes, I don't have lots more about
Because because of like the amount of people I think that like I've been here on for like kind of thinking this is like being able to check it with my study. Like what no, just myself.
Oh, just you.
Yeah.
So it's really easy what I do. What I like to do is somehow I'm reading like writing, or I'm reading like this. It's a weird habit.
I get
I
that.
don't,
I get that.
but I. Oh, so I think this. I think. Okay, this is a word. Whatever. Don't look at. Look at yours. Look at what you done from the past or up from that. All you have to do is listen. At some point you realize, oh, there was growth. There was growth. Doesn't have to be like I think you just reflect on yourself as in like I or do you ever just write it down?
I guess mostly I guess it's both, but like what it really like hits me is when I like write, like when I'm talking to friends.
Oh, so it's like I don't know what to write.
Yeah, it's just that like in my head I'm like, oh, I've basically been like this for like a year or something, you know, like I'm so hard to
You know,
Just out of school. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, you can finish your.
yeah, but by all means,
Oh, I have like a quick question. Okay, so. I've been like applying to jobs now that I've graduated, right? And so. Now I'm actually at the point where I'm like, okay, I kind of have to like ramp up, but also learn skills on the side, so I kind of have to like schedule out things. But I'm no longer in school, so I don't have like a set schedule. But at the same time, following schedule, so really, really hard. So do you guys like, if any of you have trouble following schedules, do you like come up with like some more flexible way of like, oh, these are tasks I want to complete? And like give some time frames or something, like how do you approach it?
If I did this year, would I have heard of get anything done?
So,
If you have trouble scheduling or doing tasks of any kind with cancellation, I think it's a pretty. I think the system that I use that to kind of frees up mental space. Task action.
okay,
It uses that a lot. It's like, so you're not always responding. It's a more proactive approach to doing things in general, working or things that take your attention. Like, you know,
it's kind of like a flow chart or like how to approach
yeah,
it.
it's not like really shallow, it's kind of in depth, but it's something that I found. that helps.
Okay, I'm gonna. You guys have a.
Yeah, for a dog, kind of like something skill for yourself, what kind of dog. Ooh. I guess the best thing is kind of put yourself in the right mental space that you can. I don't know how like situation is right now, but if you realize you're at a spot where like you're not feeling well and things aren't going okay, if you have all this work ahead of you and it's like if you're putting more pressure, does anything harder for you at the moment? Then take time to look at the other things, other like pressures in your life that you can deal with. Because I'm pretty sure doing the work would help, but then like ultimately like, the end goal is to get a job, so that like that pressure would be looming over you for a good while. So if there's something else like I don't know, having that time for yourself or your friend, then like do what you can to fix other parts in your life that get you at least feeling better and more motivated to go back to that. So it's okay to take a pause for the work. Everything else is kind of shambles at the moment. So take care of yourself there in that sense. And then once you start feeling better, you need to start like kind of like ramping yourself slowly more into the work and then get yourself things. Yeah.
I like doing that because let's be honest, one of the reasons you procrastinate, even now, like in red, like the one of the reasons I procrastinate because I feel like this is getting annoying, you know?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no
Do we
worries.
have to swear at all?
Like,
I don't think so. This is a professional thing. Right? I want everyone to fucking say some shit. Like,
I don't
but I'm asking.
just for recording purposes. 'Cause this is being-
Okay, whatever. It's fine. Cool. That's cool. It's stuff.
I didn't know what to do. I was kind of, there was one year where I was sitting after you, said, why am I going? I don't know.
What do you mean during the gap year? Because like now it's almost as if I do have a gap year, even though I didn't want to. Because I was just applying and I was like, oh, okay, so I don't I don't visit like life anymore. And then I thought about why, and I was like, it's because I'm not learning. I'm just applying to jobs that like lead to it that end. But I'm not learning anything alongside it. But then I'm like, oh no, learning will make me have less like motivation to want to do job searching because that also is.
No, I feel that, and it's really weird because that's the reason why I like to have it. Because it's completely different, right? Because like some people really want to, you can still learn more. But for me, I just want to find out. And it's weird because the reason why, one of the main reasons why I went to academia, because during my gap, I was doing stuff, right? I was biking a lot, I was like doing my hobbies, and I was seeing so many friends. I was having fun that I never had this undergrad.
Yeah, exactly. Undergrad is so difficult. It's like for living once you start working, you're gonna be continuing working. If you have the privilege to like have a little bit of time off.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad thing where we do each other. But
Yeah, yeah. You guys can continue this after, but I'll just formally wrap up.
Okay.
I don't wanna cut Layla off. I don't wanna cut Layla off. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This being streamed? No, I don't think so.